Hey, everybody, welcome to the Club XP podcast, a show where we do our very best to level up the conversation about the pop culture you love. Today, we're digging into Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, and we're going to get into some criticism and even try some of our best Samuel L. Jackson and Wookiee impressions. Because why not? All right, guys, let's level it up. This is the Club XP. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of the Club XP podcast. If you are just finding us for the first time, what we're all about is taking some of your favorite films and other pop culture items and breaking them apart and digging in and really leveling up the conversation about things that we're just really passionate about talking about. I got with myself here today. Sorry. Jared always scares me with scary eyes. I don't know. I got my Triple J, and in case you guys didn't know, that's what what's my wife calls you now when I'm talking to you on my phone.
Nice.
I've got Jared, Josh, and Joey.
That's awesome.
Are you okay with being called Triple J? I'll be like on my phone in the middle of a conversation. She'll be like, "Hey, you talking to Triple J?" I'm like, "You know it."
I just want to know what part of the Triple J am I? Am I the first, second, or third one?
That's a good point.
question.
You are the first.
I just want
I
to
guess
be
in order of age.
I guess you're the
I want to be
oldest.
sandwiched in the middle.
Oh, being a J sandwich.
J sandwich.
Yeah, you're the NJ. I'm sorry. Sorry to let you know that.
Speaking of
right
triple
now.
J's,
Anyways,
though, there is a double J that we need to talk about today, right? JJ
double J,
Abrams?
double J.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Oh, look
man.
at that transition.
I'm like, you are not going to stump me with this one. So yeah, Josh
You
is
stumped me.
absolutely correct. Well, we are going to talk about J.J. Abrams. So
Jar Jar
Definitely
Look,
not
Abrams.
talking
guys,
about Ryan
we-
Johnson.
That's not a double J.
no,
Ryan Johnson is
no,
gone.
single J.
Is it Ryan? Because I keep
Anyway.
hearing people say Rion.
Rion?
It's
Yeah.
Ryan.
I say Ryan.
Quit trying to church it up,
Ryan,
Joe.
Rion, potato.
Han.
That's what you get when you spell your
Yeah.
name with an I. R-I-A-N. His parents must
It's-
have known that was going to
yeah.
be confusing
Yeah.
like his whole life
And-
for people.
Yeah.
Don't do that
Speaking
to
of
your kids.
pronunciation, speaking
Spell
of
their name right.
pronunciation, before I forget,
Man.
in the movie they said Falcon and Falcon for the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
like,
I think that was
literally.
just
Like, they said it differently. But
Was
we-
that
Oh,
just
by
a
the way, we're
British?
talking about Star
Was that
Wars
just a
today.
British actress though?
Yeah, we're talking about Star Wars.
Because she said the Falcon something, and I thought she said the F word, the F in something. I'm like, whoa, Star Wars dropped that
That's-
bomb. But she said Falcon, but
That
it
is
sounded like something
absolutely-
else. So I don't know if it was just I think it was just a British
Falcon.
actress that said it. But
He's like, did
I
Samuel
thought
L.
Star
Jackson make
Wars
his way
was
into
like
this?
coming into 2019 with an F bomb. I'm like, yeah,
Nice.
wait to
yeah,
the ninth film
coming
It's like
into a
when,
Star Wars title with the F
when
bomb.
Rhett Butler dropped the said damn and Gone with the Wind. You know, where everybody like freaked
Gone
out.
with the Wind, yeah.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
I thought Star Wars had done that.
What a reference, Jared. That's
Man.
throwing back, man.
Oh, you know, just
that is.
that's how we do it here. Just kick it old school sometimes.
I know. What if we're not flooring our audience with new pronunciations of words and killer movie facts? We're not doing our job as podcasters.
That's true. I
Yeah.
think about
So,
every single
check it
episode
out.
so far has had some interesting word pronunciations. Or word
Absolutely.
I know,
pronunciations.
and that's our goal. That
or
is our
people
goal.
that just don't know how to pronounce words.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
Too. That might be it.
man. I don't know. There's something about the psychology of podcasting, and when the microphones come on, the pronunciation part of your brain starts breaking down. And
Yeah,
I don't know. You start slurring words, making up words.
it brings all my insecurities
Inside
up
baseball.
to the surface. Because I had speech
Yeah.
therapy when I was a kid, and like
Me too.
it just comes out every now and then. Like my 6-year-old self that starts talking and says words like absolutely. You know, it happens.
Yeah. Man. Well, No, we're doing this podcast with Santa Claus. I just gotta Joey's gotta put on his Santa Claus face for a jolly Star Wars Santa Claus. So let me ask you guys this. So I wanted to talk and of course let our audience know about kind of what we're doing on the podcast. Please stick with us. We're gonna talk for a few minutes about a spoiler-free review of the Star Wars. Spoiler-free. So I hope that's okay with you guys as we move forward. I just wanted to ask you, generally, do you feel like Rise of Skywalker was an improvement over this 3-movie arc? Was this an improvement over the last 2 movies?
I can say it was an improvement, but going from a 1 to a 2 is not that much of an improvement. Sorry.
So you're saying the bar was low already?
Oh man!
I'm saying the bar was super low. Getting over that bar literally required almost nothing.
Just a small step.
It's better. It's better. But that's my feelings towards the movie are that of the recent 3, it is the best of the 3. But it still isn't really. I personally thought it was okay. I thought it was an okay film.
I agree. I left this film feeling okay. A nice big bowl of okay. I mean, it was all right. I mean, it was like a solid 6 to me. Like Josh said, it was the best out of the latter 3 trilogy films. I enjoyed it. I have a lot of issues with it, which we'll dive into later on in the show. If you're a Star Wars fan, 100%, please go see this movie. If you just enjoy a good, entertaining film, go see this movie. Don't expect greatness. I guess put your expectations a little bit lower. But I enjoyed the film. I had a good time watching it. It was entertaining. Just when I left, I don't know, I just felt kind of underwhelmed, I guess.
You were like, oh,
But,
okay. Glad that's
yeah,
over.
yeah. The film
okay.
ended, I'm like, all right, that was it. Cool. Time to go home. You know? Just,
Yeah.
What?
Done with Skywalker
it didn't
saga.
keep me,
Yeah.
like, on the drive home. I wasn't, like, reliving scenes or, like, still thinking about it. It was just, it was all right. It was okay.
Yeah.
Well, I found your
Wait,
analysis
did you have
of the
any
movie
clapping?
okay.
Ooh, got him.
What do you think, Joey?
Oh, man.
All right, Joey.
What do you
Hold
think,
on.
Joey?
Oh,
I
that
think
hurt.
Joey's the only one of the group that really, really enjoyed it. Let's hear this. What do you got to say, brother?
I really love that. And to speak of it, at the very end of the film, I actually started clapping.
You
And
did.
I was the only one in the
So
theater.
you were a clapper.
I was sitting next
I
to
am a
him. He was
clapper.
clapping.
Y'all,
If
I
I
had the worst
feel-
audience ever.
I don't
which
like
also
people clapping.
attributed.
In movies?
Yes.
It's
when
a
people
collective
clap at the
thing.
movies,
I clapped
I'm
a little
like,
bit at the beginning.
Oh, come on. And Joey's next to me.
It's
like,
like,
you hype, I'll get hype.
Yay! This is great! Yay! I'm sitting like, oh no, you're one of those people.
I hate it.
This is not my brother.
I hated
This
my
is not
movie
one of the
theater,
Triple J.
though.
Why? Because nobody
I'm the
clapped with
first
you.
of the J's. It's not
It's
just
like you
'cause
start
nobody
clapping and
clapped.
you expect people to come in with you, but nobody does.
Y'all, I had
I don't
people laugh
expect
at
them
scenes
to,
that
but I'm gonna
weren't
test the waters to see if they do. And there was moments where I wanted to shout, and I did give like a low, subtle like "what," but no one else in the theater joined along because they all sucked. But
Well,
overall, like I did have a great emotional experience, and partly that could be due to because I am there with my 2 younger boys, which makes the experience all the more great.
One of
Just
which
looking
about fell
at it
asleep.
as a whole. Well, he didn't enjoy it. One enjoyed it, one didn't.
That's
But
why. Look, that's my point to this movie. If you have an 11-year-old boy, if you can't entertain him in a Star Wars movie, there's some issues with this film.
Well, he was
With
really
all the
sick
stuff
too,
that was-
so you could blame it
Oh.
on that.
Oh.
Okay, well, it kind of made me sick too.
So-
but you're
Well-
good point.
So if I'm
but
looking,
speaking of, go ahead, Joey.
man, I can't even like say what I think about
I know,
it.
I'm
like,
just
I
so
haven't even
eager to-
said
I wanna
yet.
know what
we
you
haven't
think.
even got
I'm
into
sorry.
it.
I
yet.
want to know what you think,
I'm
Joey.
sorry, Joey. You
Man,
go.
everything I say, I get harassed for.
I
Yes,
think we
I
know
did
which
clap.
J you
Get
are,
ready.
the Triple J.
Get ready. It's coming.
There are a few movies that I'll actually clap for. I haven't clapped a whole ton, but I will give a clap if I feel like I've really enjoyed the movie. And yeah, this one got it. when I saw Ready Player One, that one got it. I gave a big clap on
Yeah.
that one.
That
And
deserved a clap.
people joined in on that one as well. Endgame did not get a clap.
No.
And as far as like a saga of films, and ending the saga, I enjoyed this one more than I enjoyed Avengers Endgame. I thought it was a great, more emotional experience, and it was a better send off to the saga than what Endgame gave me. So, and I don't want to get
that's
into an
something to
Endgame
debate.
discussion, but that was my experience.
You know what? I think I can agree with
Okay.
you. I think this was a better ending chapter for Star Wars than Endgame was a better ending chapter for the Infinity Saga. I will give you that.
Yeah,
I know that's going to be debatable, but I'll give you that.
Hey, can you
In
clap
order to
for
not
me
go
after I
on
said
the-
it?
No.
Yes.
I don't want to get on an Endgame versus Star Wars debate,
Because you'll lose.
but
Ooh.
I strongly disagree with that statement. But hey, if we want to talk about on another podcast who finished the series better, we can do that. But
Yeah. Well, I think Endgame had a bigger job. I don't think you can compare the two
See,
that well
that's
because
debatable, too.
Endgame tried to tie it together like Yeah.
Before we move on,
Sorry,
I
I'm
have
pulling
to
us off
say,
into it.
Star Wars is ending a 4-decade-old story. Okay, Endgame didn't have that responsibility. This has been going on since '77. These movies,
Yeah,
and the following for Star Wars is greater than the following for Marvel as far as cinematics is concerned.
Yeah,
and
that's
to
true.
end a 4-decade-old story for Star Wars fans is a bigger job than ending a 10-year run for the MCU.
so speaking of
Especially having to follow up
cinematics,
episode 8.
I really feel like a lot of the lore in Star Wars is for a franchise that's so popular, it does a terrible job at delivering it through film, which is its primary delivery system. Like the lore and everything else like that is really cool outside of film, but for it to have such a mass following and for the films to continually go under par every single time, it is a crazy phenomenon in my head. I cannot
opinion.
I cannot understand the following. All bias out there. I'm not a Star Wars fan.
So Evan, what did you think?
That's good. So I actually thought that the movie was slightly better than fine. There are, and this is
better than fine.
Which would be what?
That's not clap-worthy, is it?
Good?
and
Good.
there were times
Decent.
Fine.
I feel like
Plus.
the movie was actually getting to a point of of depth where the plot devices were making sense, and then it stopped all of a sudden. And so I can't get into spoilers. I just had to choke myself just now. But honestly, the movie, I think that the bar was set very low by the previous two films. But if you get to the theater and you're looking for a roller coaster, this is it. It's a movie that moves very, very, very quickly. How it's moving is sometimes vague and difficult to understand. How events lead from one to the other. I think that so many of the things that tie the movie together are kind of cheap plot devices that are just too convenient. And I kept having to say to myself over the course of the movie, okay, just sit back, accept it, and watch the movie. So I just had to constantly manage myself. I feel like as an audience member, I didn't have to think that hard about what was going on. It was just kind of sit back and accept what was going on. So I think if you're looking for some depth as a non-Star Wars fan or a Star Wars fan, you can find some if you want to. But other than that, it's just kind of like an action-packed, Star Wars roller coaster that kind of comes to a screeching halt. Go ahead, Josh.
So I really disagree with you on the depth part. I thought it was out there and in your face, and we can talk about that in the spoiler part of the podcast. But then the one thing that I didn't like about the movie, in film there's a term called MacGuffins, right? Where it's just a plot device or an object used to move the story along, but that object itself isn't really all that important. This movie was full of MacGuffins, that carried the plot, and then it had, but to the overall story, it really didn't mean anything. Just like certain things. That,
I'm just gonna trust you on that MacGuffin thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but visually speaking, though, probably one of the best visually, like, man, was that some eye candy.
For sure.
The battle scenes
Absolutely.
and everything. Like, there was, like, at no point where I was like, man, this looks super fake. Like, it looked beautiful.
I want to second that too. And actually, Jared could be my witness. I leaned over to him a couple times and I was like, visually, this movie is amazing. Like,
who thought it was better than Avatar?
Oh, way better. Like
everything's better.
This is groundbreaking. But that's what Star Wars has always been known for, like groundbreaking cinema and visuals. And dude, like it delivered
and music.
I mean, it was so beautifully shot. It blew me away almost every single scene.
But I will say
the cinematography was amazing.
I mentioned this to you guys before we went live, but so there's a term in film and CGI in general. It's called the uncanny valley, right? It's where something gets really, really realistic, but it's still missing a lot of the subtle details that we subconsciously pick up that make something seem real. And I will say that Carrie Fisher's character throughout the film was consistently giving me the uncanny valley feeling, and it was uncomfortable. I don't think that was done very well, like bringing her back into the movie.
Oh, I thought they did excellent with it.
So I'll tell you the reason I didn't think so.
I didn't have an issue with it.
Is because they were using
hardly in the film.
I know, but they were using like old footage of her and putting it in there. So basically what they were doing and what it felt like is they were just using the footage they had, and then they would change the dialogue of the characters around it to meet what she had already like pre-recorded.
Well, it was previously
in old deleted
footage
scenes and stuff like that.
So my thing with
and
that,
so
honestly,
it didn't feel right.
If you went into that movie with not knowing Carrie Fisher was dead, okay, she passed away I think in 2017. If you went into that movie and she was still alive today, I don't think you would have noticed. I think knowing that she had passed away and having that biased opinion in your head, oh, that's not really her because she died. I don't think if you knew that, if you were living under a rock somewhere for the last 2 years and you went into this movie yesterday thinking, okay, Carrie Fisher's still alive, I don't think you would have noticed. I think you're just biased to that because of
I don't know, man.
Because you know that she's dead.
I think I would have noticed like why is the interaction so awkward. But go ahead, Evan.
I don't know that it's awkward, but I feel like to let us dig into this, let's go ahead and throw out the spoiler alert that we want to go and dig into it. I don't.
Dude, that's a good use.
What was that, Chewy?
And Wookiee?
Who did that?
That was me.
Wow.
I mean, sorry. No, that was Wookiee for spoiler alert. I don't know how you guys just don't inherently speak Wookiee because everyone speaks Wookiee.
Everybody speaks everything in Star Wars. They speak robot or android. They speak everything.
Yeah.
Like everybody understands Wookiee like they learned it in like second grade in like Star Wars school, you know.
Well, they did
it's like the Spanish of the universe.
Nobody speaks
Sith.
All right, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the film and don't want it spoiled, pause, go to the movie theater, and then come right back to this point in the podcast.
Go to the movie, be disappointed, and then come back and listen to us. I mean, enjoy the film, and then come back and listen to us.
Talk about how disappointed you are.
Okay, because I got notes.
No.
All right, spoiler alert.
I want to start
now.
I think, like we talked about earlier, I think this movie was destined to not fail, but not be as great as they wanted it to. My first issue with the film, not really a big spoiler, but here you are trying to conclude a 40-plus-year-old story in a span of 4 years. I think it was too quick. Trying to fit in 3 films in a span of 4 years, try to put a bow on top of Star Wars. I mean, this saga has been going on since 1977. The following for this is ridiculous, and here you are trying to cram in everything in one last film. My big problem is you introduce Emperor Palpatine. I think he was Return of the Jedi with 1983 when we last saw him in the saga. You bring him back and get rid of him all in one film? How do you do that? How do you introduce Emperor Palpatine and kill him off in the same film. Emperor Palpatine should have been.
Well, they've been doing that in every movie.
Yeah, he should have been in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. He should have been introduced a film or two before. I felt like this movie was just thrown together, and they're just making it up as they went along. And
it was what J.J. Abrams wanted.
Yeah, well, it's like, last movie, what can we do that's like huge to surprise everybody? Emperor Palpatine. But to introduce him and to kill him off in one movie was way too much. And also, I felt like this was like a 4-hour movie that they condensed into 2.5.
Yeah.
It went way too fast. Like I said, if you're going to do this right, either make it a 3-hour movie or 3.5-hour movie. The fans wouldn't care. Or make another film, okay? Yeah. Because it was way too compressed. Yeah. Everything happened way too quick. And that was my biggest gripe of the film.
Well, you can't break the trilogy pattern.
Yeah.
Joey, what do you got, man?
I would say I'm fine with how they brought Palpatine back. The movie did move really, really fast. I mean, it was from scene to scene, like, with no breathing room allowed. And there was a lot of convenient plotting, and I mean, I would say that. They're like, oh, look, we have this dagger. Oh, look, the Sith Wayward is on the Death Star. All we gotta do is hold the dagger up right here, and we know where it's at. You just happen to be looking right in the direction of the Death Star that you're supposed to. But
that was the MacGuffin I was talking about.
that was the biggest one. That didn't make any sense at all.
Well, the dagger and the Well, the dagger.
But if I were to say about Palpatine,
the pyramid thing.
But with Palpatine, I like how they brought it all together because he necessarily wasn't in Force Awakens or Last Jedi, but he kind of was by the way they revealed him. Because he ends up saying, "I am the Sith."
That was retconned, man. Like, no, they did not have this planned.
But I'm not saying they did, but I'm saying if you're going to explain his sudden appearance, that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
there's no other way.
But let me put this proposition out there.
Wait, he ultimately represents all that is evil. He's Satan, basically. And you have other minions that are under him that have represented him, but all in all, he is the one behind the curtain, and he's the one pulling the strings the whole time.
He's the Wizard of Oz,
I think it would have been better. It might have been better to not even reveal him in the trailer. I don't know if it would have been better dropped and you were like, holy crap.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Reveal. I was going to ask if
they did reveal him in the trailer with his laugh.
Because I actually think they needed to reveal him in the trailer. Ahead, because if they hadn't, this was what I wanted to ask. Because if they didn't reveal him during the trailer, it would have been like, holy crap, what is Palpatine doing in this movie? Oh, wait, he's dead. Like, I think it would have been a way worse delivery. Because whenever I saw, like, the trailer originally, I was like, whoa, is this like a spoiler for the film? Is this ruining something? But now looking back at it, I'm like, no, they definitely needed to do that because the movie went by way too quickly. Like, you can tell from when The Force Awakens was made in 2015 that Palpatine was not, like, in their line of sight. Like, this is not where they were going with Star Wars at all.
It might not have been, but like, who else is going to fill that big bad position? I'm so flippin' glad it wasn't Kylo Ren. That he didn't become like the ultimate baddie. And if it wasn't him, then it was going to be Snoke, who we didn't know anything about. So we were going to get a whole entire Snoke backstory like in one movie, and he's going to be the ultimate bad guy. Like, Palpatine is the Voldemort of the Star Wars saga. And even though Voldemort in every single Harry Potter book or movie isn't like the main oppressor all the time, he's in the background. He's the one in the background doing his thing.
But at least we know in the Sorcerer's Stone that the end state is Voldemort. We had no idea about this with Palpatine the entire time.
We don't, but we just gotta leave it like that. Like, I think they put it I think it was like a last minute decision, and basically like the first 30 minutes of this movie was what the 8th film should have been. Like, they rushed the whole entire movie into like a 30-minute segment. He's like, we don't like what they did with The Last Jedi. And basically, looking back on The Last Jedi now, like, hardly any of it makes sense. It's like the whole, the best parts of the movie were definitely like Rey and Luke and their interaction, and that helped put the plot forward. But it's basically you had a 2.5-hour movie in The Last Jedi that did not really progress the plot like at all. It was a survival story.
It was all filler.
Yeah, but it was totally filler.
Well, I almost feel like every second movie in a trilogy is destined to feel just like a filler. I mean, I can give you so many examples, but Twin Towers. Sorry, I know
Two
we got some
Towers.
huge Lord of the Rings
Two
fans
Towers.
here, but sorry, Two Towers. Oh goodness, that was a terrible
Ooh,
mistake.
ouch. Yeah.
Okay, so
So insensitive.
yeah,
Evan.
Two Towers, which maybe looked similar to each other. I don't know. So let's pivot into, since we're talking about baddies, and I'll kick this to you, Josh. What did you feel about the progression of Kylo Ren, in his journey throughout the film, where he started and where he ended up?
So, for me, it was obvious from The Force Awakens that he was going to have a change of heart at the end, because he was going to go through the same character progression, rather, like Darth Vader had. And then from the very beginning of this movie, I was like, he's going to change and then immediately die, because you can't keep a character like him alive in the franchise, because he's done way too much like bad in his life for him to be like ultimately redeemable, where he can like be a normal member of society again. And so I was like, they'll kill him off in some redeemable way, and then that'll just be it. And that's exactly what happened. I did think his like kissing scene with Rey was super awkward. I was like, oh, he likes her. Oh wait, nope.
It's
he's
Star
dead.
Wars, man. You gotta have awkward kissing,
Bro.
Like,
I was like,
what
wait,
was
that
more
happened?
awkward, that or Luke and Leia? I don't know, but it's up there.
well, that happened in the movie, and Joey leans over. He's like, "Ew, it feels like they're brother and sister." I'm like, "Thus is Star Wars. They've done this before."
We've been down
Yeah.
this road before. Yeah,
I feel
just
like
thought it was super
when-
weird.
when he had his,
I got
his
one more
turning
thing to
moment-
say after you, Jared, but
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh no,
I think
just
when
one
he- when
last
he had
thing to
his-
finish.
When
Go
he
ahead,
had his
Jared. Go ahead,
big- when he had his big turning moment, when Han Solo shows up, which I did not expect Harrison Ford to be in this film. I'd tell you that was a big surprise to
Yeah.
me. Like,
Yeah.
I thought he was done
I wanted
with
to
these things.
shout on that one.
But
was
yeah, I wonder
great.
how much they paid him for that. That's what I want to know. But I
Yeah, a
wish
lot.
instead of Han Solo showing up, I guess they needed to kind of fix that. But I wish Anakin Skywalker would have showed up, because Kylo
His
Ren's
voice
been
was
like,
there. His
yeah,
voice was
because
there.
Kylo Ren's been like all about him some Darth Vader over these films, as an idol, as a mentor, a person he always looked up to. I wish kind of like Anakin showed up and be like, bro, listen, I know what you're going through. I went down the dark side. I
Yeah.
changed.
Dude, that would have been really cool.
You can always come back because I did it. Because Kylo Ren looks at Darth Vader like this figure that's a great importance to him. So I wish Anakin Skywalker would have showed up at that scene instead of Han Solo and like, hey
That's
man,
a good
I did it too.
question. Like, why did he never like force ghost himself and be like, "Yo, dude, chill"?
Oh, bro,
He
can we talk about
force-voiced
Force
himself.
Ghosts? Can we talk about Force Ghosts
Yeah.
though, and how Luke
Go ahead.
Skywalker
Hold on,
can
I
be a ghost and like grab lightsabers and pick up X-wings
Yes.
as
Yeah.
a ghost?
So
Yeah,
How
that
come-
was weird.
Just give him his lightsaber and go fight the Emperor. If you
Yeah.
can
Okay,
pick
let
up
me ask-
tangible objects.
let me ask this question real quick. What was
Yeah,
more fan
Ivan,
service?
we'll go back to it later. Go ahead.
What was more fan
Go ahead,
service?
go ahead,
Luke
Josh.
Skywalker lifting that what was it, the X-wing or whatever,
Yeah.
out of the
X-wing.
water, or Captain America saying "Avengers Assemble"? Because those were like the biggest fan services of all time. But I really think the
No,
X-wing was like super cheesy and not necessary at all.
So I think that that scene happened the wrong way, Josh, and here's why I think that. So Luke Skywalker in his original Jedi training, it was all about him being able to use the Force to lift up his X-wing, right? That was the symbolic, okay, he's made it, he's mastered the Force, he's, able to lift the X-wing. And so in this movie, he tells Rey, like, hey, you have everything you need here on the island. But then he's the one that lifts the X-wing out of the water. And they showed the X-wing in the water in the previous film, which was foreshadowing, and everybody thought to themselves, oh, dang, Rey's going to get to the point where she gets to be the one to raise the X-wing out of the water. But no, like, she just walks out of, onto the beach there and watches the X-wing get lifted for her, whereas I wanted her to be the one to get it out of the water.
And after
Honestly,
decades
because
of
she
being in the
reached the
water,
point.
it works.
Honestly,
like, what
yeah.
in the world?
It didn't really matter for me to lift it up, because the other things that Rey does in this film, she is so OP. She's so, like,
Yeah.
like, between her and Kylo Ren and Emperor Palpatine dropping the base there at the very end and knocking out everybody, it's so overpowered. Which, honestly,
that's the
I'll be
thing I
honest,
didn't like either.
I kind of liked it, because here we have the Jedi over all these years in films, and they're so weak and they're so frail, I feel like. And to see like a Jedi like Rey like be so OP and like just destroying things and force healing people, I'm like, man, this is what a Jedi should have been like 40 years ago. I want to see like this character come in and just whoop everybody and like throw things around and be completely overpowered, like put on God mode in a video game. That's what I wanted to see, and we got to kind of see what the Force can actually do in this last film.
Yeah.
For the first
time,
and
I think that's the Mandalorian tie-in.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because had I not seen that in the Mandalorian, I would have been like, "Oh, this is weird."
Yeah,
they're just using the Force now as filler for anything we need. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But I did.
What was the
tie-in? Anybody else? Well, the fact that Baby Yoda could do the Force heal, because that's kind of like the first time we've seen that displayed in
because
film.
that answers my question, because we've never seen a Force heal before, and I'm like, because she has Palpatine's powers and also training with Luke and Leia, so she's kind of a mix in between.
Yeah.
So I thought the Force heal was probably something Sith related, because we never seen it in the genre before. Yeah. But I guess if Yoda did it in Mandalorian, or Baby Yoda did it in Mandalorian, I guess it is a Jedi thing.
Maybe Baby Yoda's really a Sith in disguise.
Yeah.
We don't know that. We'll
Speaking of which, spoiler, at the end, she gets a yellow lightsaber. And if you mix it red and green, it comes together and makes yellow. So she brings perfect balance to the Force.
Yeah, I got something to say about that, because I know in our podcast, one of our things was we don't want to just review stuff. We want to dive into themes. And that was one of the themes that I picked up at the end of the movie, right? So I think we have a tendency to like superficially look at these Jedi as like, okay, if you're on the good side, you're like all the way good. You know, you're there. And if you're on the bad side, you're all the way bad. And there's like no gray area whatsoever. And the thing I like about Rey's character is it really portrays, and it did at the very end with the new colored lightsaber, that it's okay to want to be good and then still have those flirtations with the dark side, because that's just human nature, right? And she struggled between those two different sides, but ultimately she knows what she wants to be. And that's really what's important in our lives too, is that we know what we want to become. And even though we have those temptations or to do the wrong thing, we're trying to be better. And to me, that's what the yellow represented.
Yeah. Well, let me get Joey in on this. Can I bring it back to, I wanted to get Joey's thoughts on some of Kylo Ren. What did you think about his character?
I'll tell you this. I really love Ben Skywalker, and I hate Kylo Ren. Like,
there you go.
Seeing the transition, like, I hated the pouty, whiny, like, I can't get my way kind of, like, attitude that he carried himself in the other films. But seeing him change in the Ben and having, like, some emotional, like, attachment to his persona and to see him for who he is, I was like, that is great. And I loved the scene with Han. I do dig your point about, like, if they were to bring Anakin back. I think that would be pretty cool, too. But basically, that scene was created to mirror the scene in The Force Awakens where Han had put his hand on his face and then he got stabbed and he betrayed him. In the same scene, he puts his hand back on his face again. So they recreate the scene. And when he calls him Ben, I don't know, man. That just resonated emotionally with me. He's like, as a father to a son, he's like, son, you've done some evil behind jump. But it's like, you're
evil behind.
He's like, you're my. He's like, you're my Ben though. You're my Ben. You're my little boy. And it's and he's like, and
I want to add to that, if I could. One of the other themes that I thought was really neat in this film, it's when Rey and Kylo Ren are fighting each other, and then he gets like mortally wounded, right? And I didn't catch this at first, but then the next thing we see is Leia laying down to die. Like, she gave herself up for her son to live. Like, that was the interpretation.
Spoke his name too. That was ballin'. She was like, Ben, and it just like hit him, and he's like, because he did have more than an emotional attachment to his mom, and you could tell that from the other films. But like, he really hesitated. He knew he had to take his mom out in The Last Jedi, and he really couldn't bring himself to do it. I think the way they sent Leia off was really good too. I mean, her like using
it was tasteful.
And her introduction to the Force, and to see her backstory and training with Luke, and like her finding out that she had a lightsaber, which was actually dual wielded with Luke's lightsaber lightsaber with Rey in the final battle, like that was a great tie-in to
great symbology.
Yeah,
great symbology.
Yeah,
and that final fight scene actually had a really cool message in it as well, because Palpatine needed Rey to be angry and hateful and then kill him, and then that way he could take over her. And so I thought that was kind of neat that, like, sometimes if we look in the past or our family's past or our country's past or whatever history, and we hate something that happened, if we try to destroy that with hate, then that hate becomes part of us. Like the same thing we're trying to fight against eventually consumes us. And so that's exactly why he needed her to kill him in anger, so he could become like part of her. And I thought that was really neat, kind of a good lesson to take away from the film.
Hey, here's a question. Can you kill someone, though, without anger? Could she just be like, I'm not mad, but dude, you're a jacked up guy, so I'm just going to stab you through the heart, but I'm doing it nicely.
The answer is yes, you can.
In the end,
What's up,
she
Jared?
didn't end up killing him because she just reflected his lightning back on him, so she didn't do the final blow. I don't know, man. I enjoy Kylo Ren to Ben transition, and that transformation of his character. I liked it. It's just they didn't do anything with it in the end. I mean, he fought his own knights.
Yeah, he disappeared once.
And yeah, it's like, listen, if you're going to switch this guy and redeem him and like give him his spotlight for this film, they totally underplayed that card, because I wanted to see him come in and just like clean house and be like,
I mean,
like
against Palpatine,
I was so underwhelmed, and I'm so underwhelmed with Star Wars like lightsaber scenes. I'll be honest with you. The lightsaber fight scenes in this movie stunk. They were terrible. They look great because of the location they're fighting in, you know, with the background and these big waves
like you
crashing.
can even see the mist
and
like
at
burning
the end
off
with
of Palpatine,
Palpatine,
because really cool.
just look at the end scene with Palpatine. What happened in there? Nothing. There was no fighting. Shoot lightning, block it with my lightsaber, shoot it back at you. I'm going to steal your life force.
Well, Palpatine can't fight with a saber in his situation.
But still, I mean, like,
he ain't got no fingers.
He ain't got no fingers.
I mean,
sorry,
but Rey did nothing. I feel like this movie was so underwhelming with the swordsmanship of the fight scenes, the choreography of them. This is so underwhelming. I mean, the places they fight are cool looking, and they put them in like some ridiculous situations where they fight. But as far as like the sword play or the lightsaber play, I should say, oh, it's terrible. They're so bad.
What do you feel about?
So, Jared,
I was just wondering what y'all feel. Speaking of like force powers, what do you feel about the force power to be able to like take a tangible object from somebody and have it carried over distance?
I thought it was cool.
Like when
we haven't seen that before.
I thought it was terrible.
Like when he was fighting his Knights of Ren and he reaches behind his back and like gets her lightsaber and pulls it out. That was a pretty cool moment, right?
I liked it.
Completely
Let
underwhelmed.
me force my way in here. I'm gonna force slam my way into this question. So check it out. And the previous film, I thought it was so cool how they had like a psychic connection, and they would like, you know, sitting in their own environment but talking to the other person in the other environment, and it was nothing but cool camera tricks that kind of signaled that they were talking to each other, and you kind of had to figure out that they were connected throughout the movie. But then when they just started like transmuting or transporting things through their psychic connection, it was just muddy to me. I thought it was just so weird and sloppy. And it's like, yeah, we get that that's a trick now, but how are they fighting in this psychological connection? Like, how are they having a lightsaber battle? How are they able to transfer like things through that connection?
I don't know if they were necessarily having
it felt
battle.
muddy.
I think that was more of I saw it more of as like a mental battle than actually physically fighting.
Yeah, because
maybe that's true. That's a fair argument.
I feel like something that this movie did well, and it's kind of retconning a little bit, but in the prequels that came out in the early 2000s, they tried to like explain away the Force with like, what do they call it? The midichlorians or whatever. Like, if you have more midichlorians, you have more Force power, and it took away like the spiritual aspect of the Force. You know,
over 9,000.
And so I thought I actually liked how in this movie I felt like the spiritual side came back to the Force, and how it was like this internal ability that you could harness, and it wasn't like just scientifically explained away like they did in the prequel. I like the return to that.
And the Force was accessed by a lot of characters. I mean,
Exactly.
John
That's why I really
Boyega's
liked it.
character
Even
for
Finn.
sure.
Yeah,
Finn
and
was straight in the Force.
Which
But y'all,
I
if I
am
hear
not a
Finn
fan
She
of.
was
scream-
actually connected.
I don't
if
like
hear him
Finn and Ray's
scream one more
connection.
time,
It wasn't
Ugh.
believable. Like, he's like, oh no, Ray's in trouble.
Well, it wasn't
oh, no,
even
Ray's
explored in
in
this
trouble.
movie.
Oh no, Ray's in trouble. I'm like, you guys got something going on? Because if so, this film has done a terrible job over the last 3 films explaining that relationship.
Hey,
well, they've
So
never
Jared-
been
Hook up,
together in
hook
any
up,
of the
for real.
films.
huh?
Jared
Yeah.
and I had a question. I don't know. Did y'all catch it? So Finn, when they're sinking into the quicksand, Finn's like, "I got something to tell you." Did
Oh, and they
he
never answered
ever
No,
tell her
And he never
what it
tells
was?
us. No, he never
Yeah,
tells
even
her.
when they were about to die and get executed, they never said anything about it.
Well,
Like, what
That's
was
because
that?
they're gonna make a whole series off of it on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
well,
probably.
hey, speaking of weird things, okay, that whole Lando scene at the very end with the young girl, was that awkward to anybody
Jana?
else? When
Yeah,
he's like,
it was
"Well,
really
let's go
awkward.
find out who your family is," and I was like, "Okay, are you her like
That
weird
was the
dad,
introduction.
or-"
That was the introduction for
Lando's
the Disney
creepy.
Plus series. That was all Disney Plus right there. It's like, let's go
Yeah.
find out in 2021
Like,
when
yeah.
we come to Disney Plus. You
no
know?
one cares about that
Yeah.
character whatsoever, and he's like, "I'll find out who your dad is."
I
And it's
did like-
"Oh,
I did
don't
like
get
her
away."
character. I did like her character because she was a stormtrooper like Finn was, and they had their moment in the ship. They're talking, and he's like, "I was a stormtrooper." She's like, "I was a stormtrooper." He's like, "Of what platoon?" And she says, "He's like, oh, me too." And the first thing I felt like Big Brother's
Yeah.
like, "Did we just become best friends?" Like the whole
Oh,
scene.
yeah.
It's like,
Stepbrothers.
Yeah,
I
it's like-
know.
Like,
The
they
other
Or
decided-
Step Brothers, right?
Step
relationship-
brothers,
Brothers.
not big brothers.
Oh, a stepbrother. My bad. I don't know why. I
The
said
other
Big
weird
Brother, but yeah, that's what it
relationship
felt like.
was Poe and that one girl. Like
Oh,
I don't know. It was
I had a
like,
huge
like either
problem with
make it
that
happen
scene.
or don't make it happen. Like
That
don't
was terrible.
do-
Yeah.
They
Like,
flirted
it-
like they had some
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
sexual like frustrations going on, you know, and then she's
He's
like,
like-
"Come with me, run away with me," and like they're gonna hook up, and then at the end he sees her and he gives her the wink, and she's like shakes her head no, and that's it.
Yeah. He
Like
went,
missed your boat, man.
It's like what?
He went like
What? She came
Yeah.
to save you at the end? They're hooking up at the end, right? And all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, we won. We defeated the Emperor." And she's like, "Nah, man, I'm good. I'm out." It's like,
Well, he said-
what was
he
going on in the
goes-
first half of the film with you two?
"Can I kiss you?" And she's like, "No." He asked, "Can I kiss you?"
It was
Like-
crazy. They build it
Yeah.
up, build it up,
Which
build
is
it up,
let
and
me
Which
she
is a really
completely
good thing
shrugs
to
him
ask
off.
for consent.
She
The
shrugs him off
reason-
at the very
Yeah.
end, and we never hear from it again. It was like the most
Well, the reason I
awkward,
went
like
from
Yeah.
from across the room, like shutdown. She's like, "Nah, man," and like, then what was that all stuff on that planet when they're like fighting together and all that stuff? What? It was so weird.
Yeah, I
So,
went from like
let
an
me-
8
let
down
me
to a
hel-
6 because of all those weird interactions. Go ahead.
She
Evan.
did
Really?
look like Daft Punk
Oh.
though, with her helmet
So-
on. I'm like,
Yes,
is
I,
this
Yeah.
Daft
I
Punk?
kept thinking about that. Like, is she
It's like-
about to give us a concert or something? Ever like
It
Yeah,
was
she looked
Daft
like
Punk.
Daft Punk.
Oh, it absolutely was.
I would say
It
this
absolutely
real quick.
was. I was.
Real
Go
quick
ahead.
about the whole Lando and the girl scene, trying to find out who her family was. I don't think it was like to serve the fact that he potentially might have been her dad or is awkward. I think it was just like a one more part to the film to fulfill the theme of everyone has a past and like you're able to find out who you are and everyone has that particular journey to go on, because that was like the whole point of the film, like Rey finding
I'll
her
give you
parentage
that.
and
I'll give
knowing
you that.
who she is. I think
Yeah.
it was just like, hey, this is what the theme of the movie is. It's not necessarily like it's like everybody has
So-
somebody and everybody has a family.
Joey, I think that it's even, can I take it one level deeper?
Mhm.
Is that no matter what you are, no matter what your roots are, or where you came from, you can become good. You can change. And so that, I think, has always been a theme of the dark side. Like, search your feelings, you know it to be true. Like, you're you know, a part of the dark side. You're evil. There's evil inside of you. Embrace it. Embrace the hatred. Whereas, like, I think this theme of this film was it doesn't matter, because I remember Ben was talking about how he could never go back. And then there his dad was giving him permission to go back. So I think I just wanted to snowball and tell you, I think that theme goes a lot deeper and more of like a repentance, redemption theme
Yeah.
than just, you know, knowing who you are. it's also being able to change and turn away from anything that you might have done in the past. And I think that's the best thing you can walk away from this movie with. So guys, we are going a little bit long, so we have a little bit of time left. Could I give you guys all just one thing each, one major gripe or one major love about this movie? Go ahead, Josh.
One major love. This is the first of the 3 films that I actually liked Rey's character. I thought that her Force ability was really neat, and the way they introduced that, and they actually made her into like a strong character that wasn't like annoying. So that's what I liked about it.
Yeah. Can I ask you, when she was like levitating in other parts of the movie, when she was asking, be with me, was she talking to the Force or someone else?
I thought she was talking to Luke, but I didn't really pick up on who she was talking to.
She was talking to all the Jedi.
She's trying to connect with all... Yeah, she's trying to connect with all the Jedi, because she does it again at the end when all the Jedi show up. That's what she was trying to do the whole film.
I will say, though, real quick, though, whenever she did like use the Force and lightning that one carrier, I instantly knew she was Palpatine's granddaughter.
Oh yeah, everybody
like
did,
instantly knew.
Oh,
yeah. So.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what
I got. Or at least or a distant cousin. All right, Jared.
All right. Okay, bear with me. A few quick thoughts, real quick. Okay. First of all, when they were light speed skipping, that was dope. I really enjoyed that scene. It felt like
that was dope. Yeah.
I felt like I was on a 4D ride at Tomorrowland
really
at Disney World. You're sitting in a cockpit and there's a big screen in front of you, and I felt like a ride at Disney World to me. My biggest gripe.
It was awesome.
That will become
not my biggest gripe, but one thing I didn't enjoy of the movie is at the very end when she goes back to like Luke's house, and she like buries the lightsabers and she kind of concludes that part of the story. Some random old lady shows up on a camel. She's like, "Nobody's lived here for years. What are you doing here? What is your name?" And she's like, "My name is Rey." Rey what? Skywalker. It's like, who are you, old lady? Where did you come from? You live in this desert?
I know.
Randomly walk around this camel? It was just so weird. It's like, is that how she's going to introduce her as Rey Skywalker to this random old 80-year-old lady on this camel in the middle of the desert? Super weird. And another thing and can I just ask, does every Star Wars film end with an aerial battle with ships and then ground battle going on to try to destroy a tower? I feel like that's like the premise to every Star Wars movie. There's like ground forces attacking something, air forces attacking something, and that's the end of a Star Wars movie. And the last thing, I'm sorry, I'm just on a soapbox right now. And like Joey said earlier, way too convenient plot points. Quicksand to dagger. I felt like a Saturday morning like cartoon, and they're trying to get everything together in 30 minutes. That's what it felt like. And the last battle scene, way too much like Endgame for me. Way too much. I mean, it mirrored Endgame perfectly. Like even to the part where
everybody showed up.
Lando. Everybody showed up, and instead of
like
on
Dr.
your right,
Strange.
they're like, "We're all here for you," and they all come through the portals like they do in Endgame. And then at the end, she's like, "I am the Jedi." I was like, "Oh, please don't say Iron Man. Please don't say Iron Man." But like the whole
I know.
time, she's like, she's like, "I am." I'm like, Iron Man? It's like I feel like the whole final battle scene was just a mirror image of Endgame. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was a nice little culmination.
Any big blockbuster movie, I think, kind of goes that route. I mean, even Lord of the Rings like goes that route, which is based off the books. But there is like a moment of peril where all hope does seem lost, and then there's a cavalry that comes in to kind of support and boost you. And
literally a cavalry of horses in space, horses riding in space.
Horses. That was pretty dope.
Cavalry. Sorry. Go ahead, Joey.
I would just say overall, huge fan of just the end, the final battle, just to see the culminate. I didn't expect it to be like, we are all the Sith against all the Jedi. And hearing all the Jedi's voices, you can call it fan service or whatever, that was freaking dope. I heard Sam Jackson. I heard Liam
Freddie
Neeson's.
Prinze Jr.
I mean,
Liam Neeson.
He was in
I
there.
didn't hear Sam Jackson.
Huh?
Sam Jackson was in there?
I didn't hear Samuel Jackson, but
I didn't hear him.
Prince.
You didn't hear it?
I didn't even see him credited. Like, use the Force, Rey.
I think they had everyone.
And Sith in this
They had Yoda, Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
But
I think I
hear
heard
all that-
Liam Neeson, and I picked up Yoda.
to hear all that was just great,
Even,
and then
even
like just
Hayden
to see
Christensen.
her wielding Luke and Leia's lightsabers together, super dope. And just a quick thought, like on Palpatine, it is kind of interesting in the Revenge of the Sith, the third film in the franchise. Palpatine does attract Anakin to the dark side off of the sole point that he tells him the dark side has powers to be able to preserve life. And like that actually came to fulfillment with Palpatine. Like he preserved his life through the dark side of the Force. And I actually like that they made it like this cult. It's like this is like some satanic cult that they're all participating in. And it's like this is some evil junk, man. And just to see Rey stand up against it, I really was a big fan of too when Palpatine finally stood up when he sucked away Rey's and Ben's. I'm not even going to call him Kylo anymore. Ben's life force from them, and like he shot that big blast. That was a whole freak moment for me. I was like, this dude is a powerful Joker, and rightly he should
dropped
have
the base,
been.
bro.
He did, man. That whole, I would say, like as far as set design and like trying to design evil, the whole chapel church thing that they were in with all the little dark, like I don't know, dark side monks.
It was very
Can
gothic.
we call them that?
Very gothic.
So,
the throne that
it
he
was
sat
so
on
scary.
was an original like set design for the original trilogy, but it just never actually was made, from my understanding.
Wow. I did want Rey.
Well,
I did want Rey to look at him on the throne and say, "You sit on a throne of lies." That would have been great.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Oh man, go and make that meme right now, Joey. Get on a meme generator and make it. Oh man. Okay, well, hey guys, thank you for sticking with us this long. We really have a fun time making this podcast. We were all stoked to see this movie and dig into it.
Go see it.
Again, I think you probably heard by listening from us that we range from maybe hate Star Wars a little bit to really, really like it. So I thought we gave a really good balanced look at the movie.
There's balance.
So Josh, balance to the review. That's what it's all about. So hey, Josh, take a second, plug our social media and let everyone know what's going on with the YouTube channel.
Hey, so come check us out on Facebook and Twitter at Club XP Podcast. That's Club XP Podcast. So we're going to be putting a social media post up there. Feel free to comment, like, share. Just kind of let us know what your thoughts are. Tell us what you think about what we think. And then, the YouTube page is coming up. And so we've got a couple videos on there, some different topics that aren't related to some of the podcast segments. So go check that out. We would love to have your support on social media. That way we can better gauge how to do our shows here on the podcast.
Yeah. Feedback, letting us know what you think, or if you disagree with anything we said in the podcast, absolutely let us know. All right, guys, we hope that the Force is with you. Thanks for listening to the podcast, and have a great rest of your day.
Peace.
Merry Christmas.